The only thing I have traded since I started is support and resistance. So after many years of experience, I will be making the video I wish I had when I began, breaking down every dot, tip, and trick I've learned along the way. Now, if you're new to trading, this will give you more than a solid foundation. And if you're more advanced, stick around because I'll be covering things that took me years to learn, different tricks, timeframes, and even live examples from trades I've taken this same week. You'll find timestamps down below so you can jump to what you need, but honestly, I'm making sure every second of this video counts. Now, first thing first, what is support and what is resistance? You can think of support like a ball hitting the floor and bouncing back up, and you can think of resistance like a ball hitting the ceiling and bouncing back down. Now, there are zones in the market that the price will always respect. These zones are what we call support and resistance and can be used as both. It just depends where is the price. Now, if the price is coming from below, we are probably gonna be rejecting this area and using that as resistance. Or if we're coming from on top, we're gonna be rejecting this area and bouncing from it to use it as support. So many times you're gonna see how in the chart, yes, these are very well respected zones, but that doesn't mean we cannot break through them. We're always gonna have a small bounce where we can find a break through this support and resistance zone, where if we were using this zone as support before, now we break through and we can use it as resistance in this example. Now, as you can see on this chart, we have an area marked down that has been very well respected over time. As you can see, yes, we break through, but before we had a rejection, we use it as resistance, and even when we broke through, we came back down to use it as support again to keep going to the upside. Now, when price was going to the downside, we stop at the same area again, a small movement to the upside to then break through, and even before keep going to the downside, we had another rejection. We literally keep bouncing from this price. We either break through and bounce again to the downside, or we break it through and bounce again to the upside. Actually, I can start scrolling to the right, and as you can see, many times over years, this price has been very well respected. As you can see, we are actually at this moment in this price. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to mark support and resistance zones. This part is super important because if you get this wrong, if your level is off, everything that comes after, your psychology, your stop loss entry, will fall apart. So we want to get to our chart and look for an area that has been well respected and that has been used as support and or resistance. And as you can see here on this example, this one looks confusing, a little bit choppy, like there's many candlesticks here, small candlesticks, and we're on the weekly time frame. And you don't really know where is your area. When this happens, and something that you should always do is have in mind that the past is your friend. You always want to look to the left to see what happened previously and get a better picture of the chart. Now, a few tips that I'm going to show you here. As you can see, price has just made structure on and off and have different levels. As you can see here, it calls my attention as soon as I get into the chart that price stopped here. These are two different movements and they just stop here at the same level, in the same point. So this is a good area to start. So I want to start drawing my zone here, not a thin line because price doesn't respect a single point. It will respect a range. So let's go here and let's start moving it to the now to the right to see if we've been using this area recently, because clearly we have in the past. So here I move it to the right, and as you can see, we stopped here many times, many weeks, and another movement that kind of bounced from here to go to the downside. This movement kind of stopped here, so we can move it a little bit to the bottom, and maybe this one I will just make sure it covers the last tip of this candlestick. And as you can see here, now it makes a lot of more sense. This is the kind of zone that we want to have. We have clear rejections, we have multiple ones around the chart, and we have been using this area as support and resistance, so it's even better. And this was just by looking back in time. And just by using the same principle, I can easily notice that here price has stopped many times, so that just calls my attention, and I'm gonna start drawing a zone. Okay, looks good here. Support, resistance, many resistance levels. And if I move it to the left, another support, kind of support, resistance. And if I keep moving it to the left, hey, this area has been used for much time, and it's a well-respected area. That's the power of a well-respected range, because as you can see, I can move it to the left all the way, and I'm just gonna keep looking at zones or price actions that have stopped at this level. Now, taking trades on any support and resistance area that you can find does not work. As a beginner, I used to find many areas in a chart and trying to take a trade on every single one of them, and that does not work. You wanna make sure that you can know how to spot high probability areas, because not any area will give you a good trade. For this, I'm gonna go ahead and choose a completely random pair that I don't know which one it's gonna be. I'm gonna look down, scroll, and then it's gonna be this one, AUD USD. And let's start with this one. Actually, I'm gonna use the example that we have right now, this exact moment, this exact week. I'm gonna start with the weekly time frame, and as you can see, I want to identify my support and resistance area. A little tip in case you find it difficult, especially at the beginning, I used to create a box like this, and then you just start going, let's say, from below, and you just want to find where stopped many times. As you can see, price has stopped here a few times. Let's go get another one, because this is what I used to do at the beginning, just doing this and finding as many areas as I was able to find. Price has stopped here once, twice, maybe let's try this. 1, 2, maybe this. Okay, let's leave it like that. And then I used to go ahead and do as many as I can. Okay, I will just show you how I can easily spot, especially doing this. You can easily spot many areas on a chart. Let's do another one. You can do this at the beginning. This is completely fine, because actually you want to start doing this as a practice, just to be able to spot a support and resistance area fast, and just recognizing which one is not and which one is a valid support and resistance area. And I think this will be our last one for now, at least. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gonna do one more, because I just saw this one clearly without the box and everything. But this is actually a great area right here. I like this one a lot. But here we are bullish, and we have many lines. This is actually even confusing to me right now, so I'm gonna be deleting a few ones. Yes, this is a valid area, but we have only been here one and maybe twice. I mean, 3 times here, but it looks like we're getting away from this, so I'm gonna be deleting that one. And this one I'm not gonna be using for now, but it is a valid one. Look, this price by itself, and just the things that we have talked about in the past. Although we can say that we are currently in a support and resistance zone. Maybe I'm gonna make this one a little bit shorter, or yeah, actually, let's do it like this. And sometimes for this, like as an example here, this one actually looks like it can be this, like it's too big, but it's completely fine because price stopped here. But what you want to do also, if you want to make it like a better, more specific zone, from the weekly, you can go to the daily and just, we're basically seeing the same, but with 7 more candles per, like each weekly candle, if that makes sense. So here you just want to be patient and maybe think, hey, how can I identify areas or make this area a little bit, just like be more specific on the range that we respect. And as you can see here, I put an area where price has closed many times here. Also, it matches with this one as well. And here, look, this one stop here twice, 3 times. It doesn't have to be all of them, but hey, like this big movement just started from here. This big movement broke through and pulled back here. So this big movement stopped here. So hey, this just gives me confidence in this area that I really, really like at this point. Now, I think I even want to choose into either this one or that one. I think I'm gonna choose. What about this one? Wait, I'm doing this 100% live. Hey, so excuse me. This is gonna be my area 100%. We didn't use this one in the past that much as the other ones, but I just wanna. You will see. Okay, so we're here. Gonna be. Okay, let's do it from here. Let's now identify which one of these areas. I have deleted a few of them, but which ones of these areas we're gonna be interested on taking a trade. Weekly time frame, we are bullish. Daily time frame, we are bullish in 27 minutes. So let's say we're bullish. We have, let's say, the 4-hour too. Take a look. We are bullish. I'm seeing that we were bearish. Okay, so I already know which area I want to be taking a trade at, and it's gonna be on this one right here. And I will not be deleting this area, and you will see why. I'm gonna be deleting this one for now for the sake of this example, but if we keep moving forward, I will be throwing that one and maybe taking a trade on that one. I have actually not seen this trade. Okay, so when I'm trading support and resistance, I'm looking for areas where multiple reasons line up. I'm stacking confluences, and that looks like first marking a good zone. That's a first confluence. Now, if you want to add another one, you can look for a rejection of the EMA. So I'm looking for an area where the EMA is closer. And if we look to the weekly time frame, it looks like we're going to the upside and we have already rejected the EMA. So that's another confluence that we are bouncing off the EMA and the support and resistance area. If you look here, we have a psychological number 64,000. I do not use numbers that end up in 250 or 750. I only use numbers that end up in the 1,000 or in 500. In these psychological levels, we're going to find a lot of banks, corporations, and traders getting their buys or sells in. So that's another confluence. We can go to the daily time frame just to check the EMA as well, and even to the 4-hour. And as you can see, we have the EMA on our area on the 4-hour. Also, something else that we have here, we have our last previous structure point at this point. Let's go to the daily, and we also have our last previous structure point. We were bearish, we broke bullish, and now we are waiting for the pullback to reject the zone, the psychological level, and the last previous structure point to keep going to the upside. Let's go to the weekly. And our last previous structure point of the weekly, it's all the way down here. So we're not going to be using that for this moment. But hey, we have many things to our side. And this is what a lot of people miss. We have a well-respected level with the EMA, psychological number, last previous structure point. So this is not a coincidence. This is a very high probability setup right here. So because it's not a coincidence, I'm just waiting for the pullback, a rejection of all of those, and then I'm gonna take a buy if I catch my entry that I have explained in my channel already. You can watch it because it has a lot to do with support and resistance as well. I also want to touch very briefly on stop loss and take profits, and I say very briefly because these things can vary depending on entries, time frames, and I don't want to mix things up for this video, but we do use our take profit or support and resistance zones to mark my take profit and stop loss. So for my take profit and stop loss, let's say I want to take the trade right here. And let's just be logic about it. You just don't want to expect your price to break through many support and resistance areas because these areas are well respected and we are expecting a bounce off from that area. So it doesn't make sense that your price is going to have to break through many support and resistance areas in order to get to your take profit. Actually, we want to be placing our take profit in our first support and resistance area because we know price is it's not likely to struggle on going through the areas on the chart that are not very well respected in the past. And we want to place our stop loss just below our support and resistance area because in case we bounce from the other side of that area, then our idea is completely wrong and our trade is going to be just off. So in that occasion, let's say I take my trade here. This could be a good one if I have a take profit more to the upside, but in this occasion, if I want to take my profits here, I could be taking a stop loss on here. You can also guide yourself with EMAs, psychological numbers as well. Many times I put my stop loss below the psychological number that in this occasion is below, or many times it's going to be at this psychological number. Like if I have my psychological number very close to my area, then maybe I can stretch my area and make it part of that psychological level. This, to be honest, it's gonna depend on the entry and stuff. I don't want to mix things up right now, but just stay with that in mind that your take profit should be on your support and resistance area that is next ahead of your price. And your stop loss should be below your support and resistance area where you're taking your trade or something like that. I will make a different video about it. Now I want to go ahead and answer different questions that some of you might have and that I used to have as a beginner as well. First, how big my zone should be. The best answer to this question is just make it make sense. I don't think any area that is too big makes sense on any occasion. I think the smaller, the more precise, the better, because the more precision you're gonna have with your entry, or the more precision the more confidence it will give you when it gets rejected. So your zone should be at least, I think, from here. I think this is kind of big. This is 30 pips. So I think from 30 pips to, I wouldn't put a limit to be honest, but maybe this. But at least it has to be less than 30 pips. I think that's way too much. But at the end of the day, it has to give you confidence and it just has to make sense. Another common question that I used to have wrong before, it's what about wicks or candlesticks? Because yes, our zones are defined where a candlestick close at the same price point, but at the same time, we also see a lot of wicks. Wicks you're gonna find anywhere, but they can work to your side because let's just be logic. At the end of the day, price reached this level, but it didn't close, it got rejected. And at the end of the day, let's say here, price hit this level and then it got rejected and it started heading to the downside. So it's basically the same, just that if the price closed here, I think it just means more, it has more weight. But it doesn't mean that wicks don't matter at all. I think it just gotta know that candlesticks closures are gonna be first and then wicks. For example, if we go to the left, you can see how this wick rejected this price as well, and I don't think it's coincidence. And this will help me a lot of times if I see that I have questions on my zones and I have a wick that stops here. This will give me 100% more confidence because this wick passed all the way down here and it didn't keep going through that moment. And it got rejected at the end of the day. This one here, this is just, hey, damn, this is just a perfect example. But here, this one stopped here, another one stopped here. Let's see if I can find another one that big as well. Well, this one right here. I didn't find many, but we're not supposed to have many in our charts. But if you have like a massive wick like this, and it just stopped here, and it just happened that you're here, and there's many candle bodies closing here too, then you just gotta know the logic behind the wick. This is it for this video. If you have any questions, comments, or feedbacks, put them down in the comment section. I'll be making some videos about the mindset, so stay tuned for that. Also, take profit and stop loss. That's coming, don't worry. And I hope I was able to provide some valuable information to you, and I'll see you on the next one.